Hi.
You okay?
Yeah, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I'm just going to turn it down, otherwise you might be able to hear your echo in my room. Is this too bright?
No, you look good.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It looked a little bit like a ghost, but it doesn't matter. It's fine.
Yeah, we've been like moving our camera around like half the morning, just like what we look like here.
Is one of your dogs with you as well?
Eh?
Is that your dog? Is she a Chihuahua?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, but she's like an extra small one. Like she actually looks really big in the camera.
Yeah.
She's super tiny. Like I'm a really small person and she's like,
Oh, bless her. Oh,
yeah.
she's lovely. Does she yap a lot, or is she good?
She's really, really loud.
She's bad, isn't she?
Yeah, really bad. Yeah, like we always have to give out to her with the neighbors and stuff because they can hear her shouting in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anything, but like even like we live in an estate, so like when people just walk past the window, which happens every 5 minutes, she barks. It's really annoying.
Yeah. And we have like cats next door and they keep coming up to our window, like pawing at the window, and it drives her fucking crazy.
Oh, bless her.
Oh, thanks so much for coming on. We know you're really busy.
That's okay. That's not a problem. It's an honor.
We have like so many questions and topics that we want to fill.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. I'll tie my hair up and then that I'll be ready to go. If my hair's not tied up, I'm not ready to go.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Cool.
I'm like that. I can't do anything with my hair then. Like nothing. Yeah, nothing. I can't do anything.
No, it's been off season. I have to leave my hair down so it hides my face.
It touches my neck too much, makes me too warm.
I don't want to, just like for people that don't know you, like that have been like hiding under a rock or something, just really quickly, like you were a diver for a little while and then like we were professional in that too, right?
Yeah. So prior to bodybuilding, was a professional diver for Great Britain, and then obviously moved on to bodybuilding once I'd retired from diving.
Yeah, and that you were in bikini first though, and then you went to figure, right?
Yeah. So I did all of my first few years of competing up until 2018 as a bikini athlete, won my pro card in bikini in 2018, and then decided to move to figure, just because for kind of the way that my body was built and the way that it wanted to grow, it was definitely a class that was going to be much more suited. That's
what I was just about to say. Did you like choose figure, or did figure choose you?
Figure definitely chose me.
Yeah.
I have good development in the front of my legs, but the back of the legs, the way that it grew wasn't very like bikini, even through trying to. And obviously my upper body, especially like my lats, wanted to grow as much as I wasn't big enough for figure at the time, and probably still aren't now, but definitely that's the way in which my body looks the best.
Yeah, I think that's what I get most like confused about, is choosing a category, because sometimes I don't know if, you know, like I'm mature enough to decide, or you know, that kind of way, like is my body ready? Because even the last thing that I said to Kuba and my last check-in was like, I don't look dense, like I don't look like those other girls, because at the Arnold's all the girls were like Katie, like little figure girls, do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I didn't look like that, and I was like, can I get like that? Will I eventually be like that? And he was like, yeah, you just need to grow more, Jess. It's all right, calm down.
Yeah, it's true. It takes time, and I think probably coming from the background that I had in regards to diving and having a level of muscle mass there, I already had muscle maturity there to a degree. There's a lot that still needs to build, but kind of my foundations were already laid.
Yeah. Okay. And you are competing in the Arnold September, isn't it?
I am, the 24th of September, which will be nice and fun.
That's so exciting.
Yeah.
And you're gonna be competing against Rhea?
I am, which will be really lovely. It'd be nice to be able to stand on stage again together, because obviously last year with the whole COVID thing kind of made competitions a little bit hard to get to and didn't know which ones we were going to be able to do. So it was really lovely that obviously we get the opportunity to be able to do that again this year. I mean, I'm not at her level yet, but eventually we'll get there.
Are you competing against, was Rian saved you in Alicante? Is that the last
Yeah,
time?
she won the Alicante show, the first figure show that I did. So that was amazing to be able to be there when she did that.
I liked being on stage, you know, with Katie, because like so many people were like, you're going to be competing against each other. It's not really weird. But once you share the same passion and your love for the stage is the same, and you can see, like, I've seen how much, you know, she put into her prep and she's seen how much I put into mine. And like, at the end of the day, we both deserve to be there. But a lot of people just thought it was very strange, very weird. Like, are you going to have a falling out? Like, is anyone?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's nice to be able to have that and have someone else that's kind of in the same phase at the same time to be able to bounce off. I don't think that it's never really a competitive thing. At the end of the day, none of us are ever going to look like each other, so there's not really any point.
Yeah. Yeah, true. The female categories. I was listening to a podcast a little while ago, and people were talking about, you know, the bikini category and saying that it had gotten a little bit different, where the girls were like a lot more muscular, and then they kind of said that they were going to try and bring it back down again, but it's still pretty much the same. What's your opinion on the bikini category? Do you think it's gotten a lot harder over the years, or?
It's definitely gotten a lot more muscular. I would say kind of from 2017 onwards is where it kind of started to make that change. I don't think it's a negative change. No. I think with regards to bodybuilding, I think if you're going to be a bodybuilder, you need to have muscle mass. That's the difference. Like, we can have the bikini class, which is a more of a ideal for kind of day-to-day people to be able to push towards, but at the end of the day is still a class within bodybuilding. Bodybuilding is an extreme sport. It is a sport that's not everybody can do. Not everybody should be able to do it because it's a sport. That's why we have kind of high-level footballers, high-level hockey players, etc., that not many people can get to it, because it's that 1% of people that are either willing to get and put themselves and everything into it, or they have the genetics to be able to do that. Whereas obviously with the bikini class prior to that, I think it was definitely a physique that someone could aim towards that was just a regular gym goer. Whereas I don't think it is so much anymore, because obviously it would take a lot of years to be able to get to that physique and that look now. But I don't think that that's a negative. I very much like the look. I think that at one point things were probably getting a little bit too big, not too big, just not really bikini, where it was becoming a little bit less kind of different between the bikini class and the figure class. Whereas I think now the implementation of wellness and also the implementation back of women's bodybuilding, I think that's then allowed each class to downsize a little bit, but actually just fit within what it needs to look like now. So I really like it. Yeah,
me too. I like how you can't just kind of train for a year and then decide.
Well, some people could. if they've got the genetics, they could probably just train for a year and go and win the Olympia. But definitely the 1%.
And with the bikini class getting bigger, then did that have do you think that had a knock-on effect with other classes? Do you think when bikini got a little bit bigger, figure got a little bit bigger?
Yeah, definitely. But again, I think it was because they took away women's bodybuilding, women's physique got a little bit bigger because of the ladies that had taken the step down from that. And I think it more was the knock-on effect from that perspective rather than bikini getting bigger.
Yeah, I like it. I like the way it is now.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Just when I was listening to it, they were just saying that the fact that we're now like more muscular and the competition is harder, it's definitely like a more interesting, because it's just the history of it before is like a lot of people would be like, oh, she's very muscular, it's very manly. Whereas now like a lot of bikini girls are actually muscular, and it's still it's like it's okay now or so. I don't know. But just the history of it all, just like us not even being allowed on stage in the past, and now we're actually allowed to be in a bikini category and allowed to be muscular is nice.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think it's nice. I think the shape that it gives to you, it's obviously different to someone that would be shapely because of the fact that they're womanly curvy. And I think that like way that you're able to build your body, and people have a lot of knowledge around it now. I think the way that you're able to build it just makes you look shapely from curves.
Yeah. What about if you were able to do it all over again? Would you do anything differently if you could start from the beginning?
No, I wouldn't do anything different, because I'm thankful for the mistakes that I've made, because it's allowed me to learn things that then either I wouldn't do for myself again or wouldn't do with clients, which I think then gives them a better journey throughout their bodybuilding career, because I can learn from my mistakes. I can pass on my knowledge to them, and it allows them to be able to kind of form their own path through knowing the kind of mistakes that I've made before. I think I always wanted to do figure. My second coach pushed me into still doing bikini, said that figure probably wouldn't be the right one to go down. So I kind of wish that I would have been given that support from like what I had with Cuba when I decided that I wanted to do it, because as much as him and Jordan Peters had a lot to say about the fact that my physique would look great within that class, the sole kind of initial want to do that came from me, because I'd wanted to do that, and that's what I said. But I do wish that I'd had that support kind of from 2016, 2017 onwards, because I think that I probably would have gone into that class a little bit earlier, which probably would have made my transition into the pro league a little bit nicer.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So you would have probably preferred to be, because you didn't really get to do like, whatever you're right in saying, you didn't get to do figure in amateur. You had to go straight into pro.
Yeah.
Right?
So once you're a pro, you can't go back unless you choose to give your pro card back. But I think it's very kind of frowned upon if you were to do that.
Yes, that was probably hard, the fact that you couldn't, compete for a little while as, figure in amateur, or would that bothered you at all? Like, would you like to be like, amateur in figure for a little while?
I would have liked to have done it where I would have competed in the amateur ranks as figure before getting my pro card in figure. But obviously just the way that everything was, I got my pro card in bikini. So that's just the way that the cookie crumbled.
Yeah. And you obviously being coached by Cuba, I mean, there's no better person to coach you than your spouse, really, is there? Because they're going to care.
Yeah, there's definitely probably positives and negatives to any situation. But for the most part, it is very positive. Yeah.
I kind of felt like before when Jess was coaching me before, it was really nice, but I just get really anxious. Like, if we're in the kitchen together and I was like weighing out my food or something, I feel like she'd be looking at me all of the time. And you're definitely judging me. I just can't do this anymore.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's something that some people struggle with. Sometimes we struggle to switch off emotions from both sides when it comes to the check-ins, but for the majority of times it does work really well.
Yeah, I think I kicked Katie off my team because she would just make up these excuses to why she's not checking in. I'm organising the sock drawer, so I don't have time. So I was like, you're not going to take this seriously with me, so you're going to have to find someone else. I'm sorry, but I'm leaving you.
I think the last argument we had was because you were like, you didn't tell me how your sleep was and nothing. I was like, Jess, you were in the bed beside me, you know how my sleep was.
Like, no, I don't. Because I wanted to fill out the check-in sheet, and she was like, this makes no sense. I can just tell you right now.
I like to have that data there. It's nice for me to be able to feedback off, because sometimes you'll be like, right, okay, why am I stressed? Why am I worried? Why is X, Y, and Z things going wrong? And then I can refer back to my own checking sheet. I'm like, okay, that's why.
Yeah.
I think going back to the whole like leaving emotions at the side for check-ins and stuff anyway, I feel like that's like a common thing, because even during prep, when we were both prepping at the same time, I don't think I'd ever say like, oh, your hair looks nice today. It'd be kind of like, oh, look at your rear gels. Like, oh, you're getting really lean now, but there's no like normal like relationship compliments. It's always like,
but I do think I think when you choose to obviously be a bodybuilder and you have that relationship within it anyway, I think that the thought process that you have sometimes is very different to a normal relationship.
Yeah, it's very strange. Like, because I remember when I first met Katie, and I had to try and explain to her that I was going to be competing for the first time that year. So we went together very short amount of time. She couldn't really get her head around it. Like, she was like, "You're gonna what? Like, in front of all these people, you're gonna wear this on stage? That's disgusting." But it took a really long time, and even like, I suppose Katie not having an understanding, and then, you know, no libido, like no emotion and stuff like that. I was really surprised, but people were like, we're only together a very short time, so people were like, "You're going to break up. You're not going to be able to stay together. It's like, it's too soon for you to be doing a show, only been with her such a short time." But no, it actually, it worked out. But now, obviously, it's better because we do it together. But it's like, I feel like I don't have anyone to look after me anymore. So, you know what I mean? So it's just like me trying to, it's like we take day shifts. Like one day I look after Katie, and then the following day she'll kind of take care of me or something.
That's the way it's got to be.
Yeah, I think that definitely I would prefer be with someone that does the sport though, rather than.
Yeah, I think it. Well, it depends. If you're someone that's supportive, then it works. If not, then I think that it probably pulls away, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Even if it was someone that, like, when Katie wasn't competing, she still understood it, you know, that kind of way. Whereas like some people don't really get it, and they're kind of getting mad about it, and they prefer if you didn't do it at all. Okay, so one of the things that we want to talk about, just a topic, was we had a client. She's with us like 3 years. And she's competing for the first time next year. And she's seen a post on Instagram, basically just a random person, I'm not sure who it is, but competed for the first time, and then put up a post saying that she was never going to do it again. But we see it all the time, people that just do one show and then, you know, they put all this thing on the internet. It was the worst thing ever. I have such a bad relationship with food now. And it really turns people off doing the show. Like, what would you say to people that are going to compete? Because a lot of people that watch this are going to be our clients, like first time competing or whatever. Like, what would you say to them? Like, if they're just going to compete this year, but they're seeing so many negative things about the bodybuilding industry.
I think if your coach just set you up properly, which I know that your coach will, they will have taken you through like a real serious diet phase before doing a comp prep, that will allow you to know what those thoughts and feelings are going to be like during a diet phase and then post a diet phase, which are obviously those wants and needs of foods, probably the biggest thing that's going to eat into you a little bit. And I think going into a prep without going through a serious diet phase first is probably the biggest no-no. And that's knowing and talking from experience. When I first went into my first ever prep, I'd never done a long-term diet phase before. I dieted, but I still allowed myself to have like an off-plan meal each weekend because I could. It didn't matter. Whereas obviously you don't have that when you're in a prep. So having someone that can take you through that process before you then go through that kind of seriousness and like the pressure of a prep, because you do get the pressure there, even though there's not really pressure from exterior, you get that pressure from kind of internal because it's your first time. You want to do well, you want to look well, you do have that pressure there. So I think going through that diet phase and knowing those thoughts and feelings that you are going to have just sets you up for knowing exactly what's going to happen during a prep. A prep is no different to a long-term diet phase. It's called a prep, and you do a competition at the end of it rather than either having a photo shoot or just having that end look of being lean. So as long as you've gone through that phase, you know the thoughts and feelings that you are going to have. Don't put a label on it. It's literally just a long-term diet phase. It doesn't matter whether there's a competition at the end of it or not. If you've done it before, you know what those thoughts and feelings are going to be.
Yeah, that's kind of what we said, because she had done photo shoot prep with us before, but it was only for a mock prep to see how she would get on, really, and obviously a goal at the end. But probably, like, I don't know, just as lean, like really good shape, and she was really happy, and you know, she doesn't have any like relationship issues with food anyway. Do you know what I mean? She's pretty on it, like, and was completely turned off by somebody that competed once And it's just like, no, worst thing ever, like such a bad relationship with food now and blah. It's like, okay, but what, like, did you do it before? Is it your first time? Like, what was your coach like? Where did you start? Did you even prime for it? Like, were you too fat when you started prep? Like, all these other things. But I just wonder how many people would actually be really, really good and really enjoy it and just be turned off by, say, that one person that.
Yeah, and I think another thing that people also then give a bad feedback or bad kind of, they have bad outlook towards competing when they finish is if they've not done well, because I think a lot of coaches sell it as if everybody's going to do really well, and unfortunately there's a lot of people that do bodybuilding now. You can't expect to go into your first show and win. The best person on the day will win, and you can't ever know whether that's going to be you or not. You can always bring your best, you can always make sure that you give 100%, but you're never going to know if you're going to win or not. And I think that that's another thing, that lots of people have that kind of thought and feeling towards it, rather than that pride of actually going through and really showing off something that has been their best ever. If they've not put 100% into everything, then they can only kind of blame themselves a little bit if something hasn't looked the way that should have done or wanted it to. Would that still have made a difference to the result? Who knows? But I think just being really kind of honest with yourself and just knowing that you need to bring your best. Sometimes that might not mean the win, but as long as you're doing it for the right reasons in terms of bodybuilding, because you enjoy it, you enjoy the process, etc., that doesn't or shouldn't really matter, and it shouldn't make you have a bad opinion of the sport if you've obviously done that.
I think so. I think that's a really good way of looking at it. There's just so many, I suppose, influencers. Bodybuilding is kind of a trend at, like, I don't know, especially in Ireland. I don't know if it's the same with you guys, but in Ireland right now, it's turned into kind of like a cool thing to do.
Yeah.
And it's like, you just do it because everybody else is doing it, or to get like more followers, or to just get that picture of you in a bikini on stage. It's become like that a lot, I think, in Ireland. And then people are, they're like, it's not an educational, thing where they come from and put it on the internet. It's just literally of one show, one time, and probably very little knowledge of the sport anyway. And then it's just putting it up, and it's happening a lot over here. I don't know. Yeah. So
I think it's very much like that across the world.
Yeah.
I don't think it's just where you guys are, but no, it's probably it's hard to break that trend because Instagram is life now.
Yeah.
Like the closer you get to shows as well. Like for me, for Ireland, the closer I got to the show, the more posts, like, influencers and coaches were putting up about reverse dieting and about like post show and about how it was so awful and it was so terrible. And it does like kind of put a little bit of fear in me as well, especially for me, because I had a coach previous tell me like, you're addicted to being lean, like this is not okay. So coming close to the show, I was like freaking out. And then obviously after, just kind of focusing in on what you were saying, what Jess is saying, it was absolutely fine. I feel like if I can reverse diet all right, anyone can.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. And your post show went perfectly. So
yeah. Even now have a post show, it was like you still look so lean.
Just smashed it.
Yeah, literally. I think that's what brings me back again to, I suppose, like why I was asking you about the categories, and if you like the fact that they're becoming a lot more muscular, or are more muscular now. And I think I like it anyway, because it gives like less of a chance for people just to kind of go on stage for the first time and not actually be muscular or anything really, just be lean and get first place basically just for being lean. But yeah, I actually think that we covered all of our little things, but I was just so in a rush. I was like, how are we going to fit all of this in? But we did it.
You're actually very good. Normally when Jess starts talking about bodybuilding, she goes on for about 3 hours.
Yeah, but that's a good thing when you're that passionate, and you do a lot of research. You obviously put a lot of effort into your own coaching brand. You obviously put a lot of effort into your own bodybuilding. When it's something that you're so passionate about, you should want to talk about it, or you should want to kind of show your knowledge to other people so that people can, like I said with my clients, from the things that I've learned, there's probably things that you've learned from either past kind of coaching environments that you've been in before, things that perhaps you've done not quite so well or well prior, that you can pass on to your clients, you can pass on to other people through doing your podcast, that it's going to be really helpful, because I don't think that there's a lot out there in terms of like females talking about the things that kind of females go through, or the mindset or anything like that, because it's mostly males that do talk through that. And I know that a lot of the stuff that they do speak about, we can relate to quite well, but sometimes it's nice to have a female speak about it and talk about it and kind of share their experiences through it, to make sure that you can kind of pass on the things that you already know.
Yeah, I think that's kind of why we wanted to do this, because there's not many like female podcasts.
No.
You know, even if I was to watch like YouTube, the only girls I would kind of watch would be you, I suppose Rhea, but that'd be kind of it, because a lot of the, like I said before, it's very trendy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I love it for the fact that it's made it a little bit more well known. More people are starting to get into it in terms of more like health and fitness side, not even just the bodybuilding side. But I wish that kind of the people that say negatives around it, but actually didn't have the knowledge or the experience that could have actually had that, so that they could maybe either had a better experience or could have stayed in it for a little bit longer. It is a shame, but obviously it happens. Because like prep does get easier every time you do it, right? That's what they say. I agree.
The more you do it, the better it is. So like if some people they say that they're going to wait until they know that they're going to win or whatever, that's kind of, I suppose, a waste of time really, isn't it? Because obviously the more stage presence you have, like the better and the easier the preps are going to be. So obviously the better you're going to look, with the easier your prep is, I suppose. Yeah,
I think that the stress that you get towards the end near to a show gets a little bit less, because you know that you're going to get on stage and you know that you're going to not fall up the stairs, you know that you know how to pose because you've done it before. So that kind of stress and pressure that you have to begin with is obviously gone. And I do think that you get better at being able to managing things like your food relationships, that the more times you do it as well. Because if you think about it, the first time you do it, even though you've done your long diet phase, it is a bit longer in a prep setting. So you kind of don't know if you're going to be all right for those last couple of weeks, which you get used to. And then I think that when you've done it for a few times as well, you get used to the fact that, I am going to have cravings. I am going to have that little bit of food focus there. Is it a negative? Not really, no, because if I think about it, when I'm in the off season and I'm waiting for my like off plan meal, or if I'm a little bit later for a meal, I still get that feeling of like hangry, and I'm like, maybe I could go and get a muffin, maybe I could go and get this, maybe I could go and get that, like just easy to eat things. So I still get it even when I'm having lots of food anyway. So I think that the more times people do that as well, I think they just get used to, okay, I am probably going to get a little bit food focused at some point, but it doesn't matter because it's only temporary.
I think I found, like, as it just being my first time competing, I actually find that I'm better, and I think I've said this to you loads of times in my check-in, that I'm better when I'm doing bodybuilding. Like, I actually got a bit of guff at the weekend to be like, oh, you do bodybuilding, you have a heart condition, that's stupid. But I find for me, like, I'm so much more productive, but even with my food, my steps, my sleep, it's 100 times better when I'm actually doing bodybuilding, when I'm in the routine of it. So like, I kind of had the polar opposite experience than everyone else did that talks about it on the internet. I haven't done it once.
Yeah, I agree totally. I think that when people have things like that they do probably need to stay fitter and healthy through it. Like, we know that probably towards the back end of prep, it's not the healthiest time, but we don't spend that long in that phase, that it kind of is okay. It's probably better than having lots of free meals in a week, better than not doing your cardio, better than just being sat slobbing around, than it is to actually just get up and get stuff done.
Yeah, I think so. I think that I'm the healthiest I've ever been, and people say bodybuilding can be, obviously, again, uneducated guesses and assumptions, but I'm the healthiest I've ever been. I know that Katie is definitely the healthiest she's ever been. I mean, who else in the world like tracks your food as hard as we do, your salt, your water intake, like your bloods, like your glucose before you get up, before you go sleep, your blood pressure. Like I would have never done that in my lifestyle, do you know, that kind of way where I was before, like to where I was now. And I know Katie certainly wouldn't have done either, only for she loved the sport as well, like, do you know what I mean? Because Katie's diet was sausages and cans of Coke.
Not even Coke Zero, Coke.
Just Coke. So like, and I remember a lot of Katie's family was very nervous when she was getting into it, because they were just saying about like the heart condition and stuff. But I was saying, but she's like healthier now than she's ever been. She's heavier, like in an off season. Like you've got her now to a point where she gets her cycle on time and everything is working again. She feels good. Compared to where you were before.
Yeah, definitely.
And she likes having a little bit more curve.
She'll
check in and she'll be like, I like my pictures this week. I'm like, damn right you do. And that's more times than not. I remember when we first started, she went, oh no, look, we're getting a bit fluffy. Do we need to pull back? I'm like, no, we don't.
I remember she would still have a six-pack and she would stand in front of me and just be like, oh, I'm so fat, I can't wear this dress.
and you're stood there like, are you serious?
Yeah.
Because like, even being in a mini cut now, I'm like, come on, let's just finish this back up.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I get really like, oh God, like I get really like fluffy. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm just that, oh God. And I'd be looking at her and she'd still have like veins popping out and shit when she's training. Like, what are you talking about?
Some people do say leaner year round than other people, but sometimes it also is down to muscle mass. If someone has a little bit more muscle mass, they will have that look of being visually a little bit leaner. And then sometimes people just hold more than others, even if they're doing it right. So I hold more than a normal person in my off season, but I like it. I used to hate it, but now I love it. So I think it's set me up for purse bodybuilding well.
Actually, I have one question before we go.
Yeah.
You know what your and Kuba's wedding?
Yes.
Did you purposely plan that coming out of back for prep or off season, or was that a thing? Because like when we're getting married, like it's definitely not going to be like mid off season.
Yeah, we I planned it so that it was away from a competition prep, but not that far away to the point where I felt uncomfortable in dress. Yeah. So I knew that like a couple of months post diet, I would have lost most of my lines, but still not be like overly large. So that's why I chose to do it there. I also planned the whole day around our meal times as well. So it was pretty well organized.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, because we were saying that as well. As like, we have like a microwave and fridge on site for the guys, like to be nice.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's what they need. But then we also got the sushi as well. So most of them enjoyed that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And what about you and like after bodybuilding, like the life afterwards? What do you have planned for that? Or do you think
I haven't really thought about it. I haven't, as in, I don't really see a life of not bodybuilding, if that makes sense. Yeah. So it's not really a case of that. It's more when I choose to not compete anymore.
I think the same.
Which I'm not too sure when. I'd say like another 5-6 years I'll still be competing. Yeah. And then probably post that's when I'll probably decide to call it a day.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
I'll still bodybuild, so
yeah, I'd never not be able to go to the gym. I think that it'd be nice to have more time, maybe get more dogs or something. But that'd be it.
Yeah, definitely. I think that when you're in it for the right reasons, it becomes a way of life rather than just a hobby.
Yeah, it's your lifestyle. I enjoy it. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that we'll leave you go because we kept you for an extra 5 minutes.
It's fine.
But thanks so much for coming on. I really do appreciate it.
No, thank you for having me. I've loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. It's nice to do a podcast.
Yeah, because you don't do many anyway, do you not? Yeah,
No.
so appreciate because you know that you don't have the time.
I'm a female, aren't I? So I don't get asked. Just a male's world.
yeah, the life that we live in.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, thanks so much, Meg. Really do appreciate
That's
it.
okay. I hope you have a lovely Monday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
I'll see you on Friday. Bye.